What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today, welcome to a brand new series. So this series is going to be called The Local Experience. What I thought I'd do is try and do something a little bit different in the year of 2026. So what we'll do is this is before the tournament, my locals is tomorrow. I'm probably going to record the night before, sometimes the morning of, and then just generally kind of give you a bit of a vlog style setup for the locals that I go to. Then what I can do afterwards is I can give you my feedback, what type of deck I'm playing, what type of deck I'm choosing. And I feel that it can kind of provide you with the experience of if you are new to the game, if you've never been to a locals before, and sometimes we'll do some special episodes where it's like the sneak peek experience, regional experience, UK Open experience, so on and so forth. Just so you have a bit more of an in-depth insight into kind of how it is like when you're going to these events. So let's start off nice and easy. Tomorrow is my locals. Right now, I've put the deck together that I want to play. The deck that I want to play tomorrow is going to be Cool Tunes. I'm still trying to figure out some kinks of the deck. They have just received some brand new support coming out in May, but I want to try and get an understanding of the deck prior. There's some new cards that I want to try out in the deck that I haven't tried before, and that's Herald of the Orange Light. I also want to try out Pot of Desires instead of Pot of Extravagance, because I didn't really, or wasn't the biggest fan of that. The Herald of the Orange Light is instead of the Gamma package. And then I'm also trying out the Fallen and the Virtuous package. Now, I've seen a couple of people mention this on the Cool Tune Duelist Facebook page. And the whole premise is that you would usually just play Fallen and the Virtuous, Quem, and then the original Ecclesia. And I thought, how can we make this one step better? Or what could we do to make it a little bit better? Now, I am contemplating opening up one of my Sealed Secret promos so I can play a third Fallen and the Virtuous. I'm still debating that one. But the idea behind this one would be that you activate the Fallen and the Virtuous, you would send from the extra deck your Titaniclad, okay? Your Titaniclad in the end phase would then summon your Quem, because it's a Dogmatica. Quem would then send Ecclesia the Virtuous from the deck to the graveyard. Then what happens is during your opponent's turn, when you synchro summon, a monster will leave the extra deck. In doing so, Quem can then revive the Ecclesia. And the way that I thought that this was kind of cool is where normally you would revive the normal Ecclesia, it's a non-tuner, it would let you search out a punishment or a Fallen and Virtuous as a follow-up. At least with the incredible Ecclesia, what it kind of opened up the door to, unless you activate Cool Tune Synchro, is you can then tribute this off, special summon out Fallen of Albaz from the deck, use Fallen of Albaz's effect, discarding a card, to then contact fuse with your opponent's monster from the extra deck and go into your Mirror Jade. You could also use a light and a dark monster on their field and go for the dragon that devours a dogma, backed up by the fact you've got an Ecclesia in the graveyard. This would then actually be insanely hard to deal with, and it disrupts the graveyard. You would still maintain at least one card in your extra deck that Mirror Jade can send, being the Albion. So Mirror Jade would send the Albion, and then this would trigger in the end phase to grab you your second Fallen the Virtuous. Now, obviously the downside of that one is, once you grab that second Fallen the Virtuous, you're not going to have any more names in the extra deck to send. But what you can do is you'll be able to activate it to revive, because you'll have an Ecclesia in the field or graveyard, you can revive any of your cards. So it basically then acts as a starter. So that's the premise. Whether it works in practice or not is a completely different story. So that's something that I wanted to try out, and we'll find out probably, well, I'll find out like tomorrow. You guys will find out in like 2 minutes time once I do like the highlight reel of the duels and everything else. So that's one dilemma that I'm currently working with. The other dilemma is I've got my extra deck built. I've got to decide how I can fit these guys in there. So that's still something I'm figuring out. And then the most important part of all is building the side deck. Now, there's a couple of cards that are pretty staple in the side deck for this right now. So Natria Rose Whip, you can summon it off of the back of Kewl and then lock your opponent down to only being able to use one spell or trap a turn. And then you can actually negate said spell or trap with your RS. So you kind of just leave them with nothing. I think Draw and Lockbird's kind of like a staple in this one. The ones that are kind of like questionable, up to you, preference and everything else in between. Dark Rule No More. I quite like the idea that because we play Trapmaker, Mix and Rico, that you could afford to activate Dark Rule No More and then just pick the field apart. I'm also contemplating playing some other breakers that I'm still looking at. Nibiru is another one. It's just if the environment that I'm going to, if they don't respect Nibiru, which sometimes they don't, sometimes they do, so you can never really tell how effective this card will be. So like these are kind of semi-set with what I'm doing or what I would like to use. And then the other cards that are up for question is, do I play the Thrust package? But it does take up quite a bit of space. I could obviously if I wanted to minimize this down a little bit, like probably do something like this. On the flip side of that, what that would allow me to do is rather than having to play 3 Lightning Storms, I can cut that down. Rather than playing 3 Evenlies, I could afford to cut that down. I've still then got to find the space for the Molchemi Perulia or Meows, or just an equivalent card. And then I am constantly darting around Iron Thunder right now because I think it's a really kind of cool generic counter track card that can really cause a lot of issues. So it's now the process of elimination. Whether I get this decided tonight or whether I get it decided by tomorrow morning, it still yet remains to be seen. Ultimately, when you're trying to put a side deck together, you need to take into quite a few things. Number one, like how well does it work with your deck? Number two, how effective the cards are going to be in the environment you're going to. And then number three, how many go second cards compared to go first cards do you want, and how many balanced cards you're going to want. What I mean by that is, Naturia Rose Whip is a go first card. Like, I don't really want to be putting this in going second. Drown Lockbird could be used for going first or second. Nibiru can technically be used for going first or second. Dark Roll No More can only really be used for going second. So, not saying that that's always going to be the case, because in turn 2, 3, and 4, there's always going to be more options for it. But if you can find the balance of cards, so like these are kind of like your ideal ones, because you can put them in the deck, they'll go first, they'll go second. Lightning Storm can only go second. Frost, better at going second than going first, but that opens up the door for these for going first. Iron Thunders going first. Chummies, 100% going second. Evenly matched, 100% going for second. So you can kind of see how these like piles outnumber each other. So I've got like a pile of 6 here, a pile of 6 here, and then for the go second options, there's 3, 7, 8, 9, 15. So I've got like a side deck of just 15 go second cards right now that I still need to kind of figure out how effective are they. Now, obviously, in an ideal scenario, Dark Roll No More, backed up with Evenly Matched or Lightning Storm, can be a massive game changer. Just got to decide if it's worth doing that. And then I've also got to try and figure out like how my natural go first, like my natural go first Enfield's pretty good, but do I feel that I want it backed up with a card like Iron Thunder? It's probably not a bad thing to do. So yeah, there's still like a lot to kind of figure out. I think if anything, right now, as it currently stands, I'm leaning more towards Iron Thunders, Lightning Storms, the Chummies, and Evenlies. So I've just got to kind of like narrow these down. The Chummies only come down to what I think I'm going to be facing, as does the rest of the side decks. Like, depending on the number of people that turn up, you kind of really need to be a bit adaptive. So then you try and build the baseline, being Drolls, Nibirus, and Naturias, which is like, okay, cool, this is going to be good against the majority of decks. And then you start to kind of fine-tune of, well, okay, Iron Thunder is going to be good no matter what deck I face, because it's a counter trap card that negates a spell, trap, or monster effect as long as it's activated on the field. So that is a good kind of option, maybe worth using. How effective is Evenly Matched in the environment? Do my opponents put an Omni Negate on the field? Do my opponents play around it? You can't always guarantee that your dream scenario of open up Evenly Matched with Lightning Storm is going to do the job. So you need to kind of take that into account. So still like a lot to kind of get your head around, which I fully understand could be massively, massively daunting. And it gets better the more and more. Like if you're going to a local environment and they play the same thing over and over and over and over again, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to kind of judge your particular choices and your particular movements. But if it changes from week to week and the attendance changes from week to week, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult. So, I've narrowed down a little bit. I'm never going to make the decision the night before. Very rarely will I make the decision the night before of exactly what it is. It's always better to sleep on it, just to kind of get a bit of a fresh head on it. I always do test hands as well. Always make sure that you've got your muscle memory going, and you could do that on the day or do it the day before. And then for me as well, especially when I'm playing at my local environment, I always like to double sleeve my decks, especially when I'm a massive fan of my decks and just cards in general, that I tend to go a little bit higher rarity. But not that that's anything against my local environment. Like, my local environment's actually fine, but I want to make sure that I protect them well and truly where at all I can. So I always like to double sleeve most of my decks, if not all of them, when I go out to a tournament. Plus, it's actually what's more important is it keeps the sleeves clean. Now I'm using Dragon Shield Auras. I think that's what they're called. Yeah, Auroras. That's definitely upside down on the camera. But I quite like these. I quite like this color. I was using KMC's whites as well. The only issue with like KMC whites is if the oversleeve gets a little bit of dirt on it, it's so much more noticeable. So you'd always change your sleeves at the start of every tournament. The only thing with that one is they do get a little bit puffy. Okay, so that's pretty much the befores. This is like an introduction. I'm probably going to tidy this up a little bit more, probably do a bit of B-roll. So we're going to finish sleeving this up. We're going to get it ready to go for locals, and then I will give you updates as we go. We'll probably do some highlights of the duels, and then I'll probably put out the duels in their full kind of full format as well. So you can watch the full duels back and forth, just in case you wanted to do a bit of a learning curve, how the deck was played, what was misplayed, and everything else like that. But throughout this video, I'll probably just give you like the bullet points and the highlights, so you don't need to, to sit through like an hour's worth of content. You can do that in separate days rather than all in one. So we'll be back in a second when I can give you either to the morning after or when I'm at the local environment getting ready to start. So we'll catch you in a bit. So the first round of locals is up against Yummy. Now, these little highlights are just going to be the bullet points of the duel, like stuff when I get interacted with and when I interact with my opponents on certain elements. So inside it, we've gone Synchro Overtake into Rico. Rico gets met with a Ghost Bell. Even through the Ghost Bell, we're able to push a little bit further forward. So we're going to see in a second. Just going to jump to how the field kind of progresses. So we've got a Remix, a Trap Maker, and a Rico. The Trap Maker was hit with the Infinite Impermanence, and then our opponent is going to start off with Engage. So the idea is just to kind of show you how I interact with the Yummy field attempting to be built. They've got 4 cards. Starting off with an Engage is probably like one of the best cards they could start with, just because it will lead them to a monster without conducting the normal summon. As it stands, we've got, I believe the set spell on track is Cool Tune Synchro. So we've got a non-target return, we've got a Spell of Trap Destruction, and then we've got Remix that can kind of tag herself out in order to bring back a tuner and add one back to the hand. So it's really kind of about timing on this as to when is best to interact with what's happening here. The Banished Forbidden Droplet came off the back of Q's effect when it went to the graveyard. Looks like we're going for drones into the token. And I'm kind of like, I don't really want Kagari hitting the field. So if I stop Kagari hitting the field, then it means that I stop the drones being added back. I stop an extension play. And this is kind of like the ideal time to pretty much interact with what we have. So we go with Remix, tributing herself off as cost. Got to be a little bit fearful of Ghost Bell here, even though we saw Ghost Bell during turn number 1 on our Rico. That resolves. Bringing Rico back to the field, adding Mix back to the hand, instantly Synchro Summoning going into RS, which means we can negate like the Kagari that enters the field of play. But we still also have the Rico effect on the field to add us a level 2. And then we also have the Rico effect in the graveyard, the Mix effect in the graveyard to destroy the token. So this will leave our opponent with nothing on the field, 3 cards in the hand. All 3 are currently unknown, and it's really going to come down to what they have to try and interact or stop this disruption happening. Looks like we're going to see a Forbidden Droplet. So Forbidden Droplet sending Ash, which is quite good for us because it means it whittles their hand down to only 1 card. They've only sent a monster. So with RS being able to target negate, depending on what I'm fearful that the Droplet may negate, could change a lot. And ultimately, if Droplet was to negate the RS, I can just Rico, search out Clip summons down and synchros off into a second RS, which has its effect live. And if they put a spell or trap on the field, then that RS the Rico hasn't used its graveyard effect yet. So we go with Marshmallow. There's nothing to add back from the graveyard. So now, again, is a really good point. There's nothing left. If I'm able to clear that off and there's no recurrence or anything else, then we're in a good position. So that set card being Cool Tune Synchro can lead the ability to Synchro 6 and then non-target return to the hand. But it's going to be, well, it's not even Cool Tune Synchro, it's Fallen and Virtuous, even better actually. I feel I don't really want to be adding it back to the hand. So we're going to use this, we're going to destroy the Marshmallow. And then I think it's at that point that they kind of scoop it up and go to game 2. Keeping in mind that I've got the ability to make another RS. Anyway, so my opponent goes first, and this is just to highlight what their end field was. So it's Herald plus one of the Yummy monsters, Synchro monsters, plus IP Masquerena. I normal summon the Mix, don't use the effect so that they can't Herald me, and then instantly Synchro into RS. The reason I had to normal summon the Mix was because the monster that's from the hand gets banished under Herald, whereas this way the Mix goes to the graveyard, so the Mix can target the Herald to destroy it. Then going to be using the Yummy Monster to tag out to summon 2 cards back. And then chaining the IP because you might as well, otherwise the Herald just gets destroyed anyway. And I could use RS to negate the IP, but ultimately, I suppose I was more fearful of an SP. But now that I think about it, even with the SP, I probably should have just stopped SP hitting the field. Like if I was kind of more worried about the spells and traps, I think. But we go for the Link 3. The Link 3 doesn't bother me so much. It means that I can't attack with RS, and it also means that I can't activate its negation effect. But then the one thing that I overlooked was that the RS level manipulation is still kind of in play, I guess. So, resolving Lollipo to draw a card. Just trying to get my head around this. I've already used my normal summon, trying to figure out the Gorgon to the best way of doing with it. And ultimately, like the field's just still too much for me to kind of push through. I think I also open up 2 Fallen and the Virtuous, so I end up scooping it and going to game 3. In game 3, we get ashed on our Cultune Synchro. We hard open up the Quem, which isn't ideal. Normal summon the Quem, send Albaz from deck to the graveyard. And I think the rest of my normal, like I don't think I had any Cultune starter. Like I needed Cultune Synchro to resolve. And even then, I probably could have gone normal summon Quem, used Quem's effect to send. If they're fearful of Quem, they ash it, and then use the Cultune Synchro. But then what do you add? Like you can add Clip, but the best thing you can make is a mix. Anyway, we move into their turn. They've been able to get Lollipo into Snatchy on this one, and then we try to use Quem's effect to bring back Albaz. He gets hit with a Ghost Bell, and that kind of puts the nail in there, because the idea is that I bring back Albaz, and then with the monster on the extra deck on the field, I can use Albaz's effect, discard a card, get my own Mirror Jade, and then that gives me 2 forms of disruption, because not have I only fused off with one of my opponent's monsters, but I've also fused off or got the ability to use Mirror Jade to send an Albion, get me another Fallen and the Virtuous, and build on from there. So, kind of see, Ghost Bell was probably like the MVP of this duel, putting a lot of work for Yummy's side. Ultimately, there's not really a lot more that I do. The only other card I've got set is Iron Thunder, so I'm trying to hold it back for like the period where it's worthwhile using, and this is where we get to it. So we use Iron Thunder on the Synchro's effect, trying to negate, destroy this, and then it really kind of comes down to, do they have anything more to extend? We've already conducted normal summon with Lollipo, and unfortunately for me, they do have that extension card, so they do have the Marshmallow. Marshmallow's just going to summon itself down, and then with no more interactions left, there's pretty much nothing I can do. So leave it on that one. Ended up taking the L on the Yummy matchup. So moving on to round number 2. Duel number 2 is up against Yubel. Now, against my opponent on this one, they basically just play into Fualos a little bit too much here. So I lost the dice roll, had to go second, but I did open up Fualos. I activate Fualos, and then from this point on, they just kind of like lean into it. So this is kind of like my field during their turn still, which is crazy. So I've used Clip, I've got into RS. They gave me the Geist Grinder Golem. I start my turn with Synchro Overtake. And the idea is that we're trying to kind of progress the game state here. I do need to still be very, very cautious, because we've got Nightmare Pain, we've got Rage on the field, and we've got the Gate of the Dark World. All of those can be very, very disruptive. So ultimately ended up winning that duel, because for the pure fact that there was just too much Vined off the back of the Fualos. My opponent then decides in game number 2 to make me go first. So I'm kind of praying and hoping I don't open up with like all of my field breakers that I put in. But I end up doing okay. I activate Desires, and this is where, like, when I look at my Desires banish, I've lost kind of like Red Nova's gone. Red Nova's gone. I think there was like a Q in there. There was a Rico in there. I'm pretty sure a Mix was in there. Usually you'd be kind of okay with this, but this duel goes on for quite a while. So the grind game becomes very, very kind of painful. So we set 2 and a Track Maker and a Dream and pass across here. I think I do actually hard open up an evenly matched. I think one of those set spells and traps is actually an evenly matched. So they're going to start their turn with opening of the Spirit Gates. Pretty good start, that one. Now, only from this point on, this duel actually goes on for quite a while. A lot of back and forth, a lot of grinding. And I look at the clock and there's like 6 minutes left. So I ultimately end up deciding to scoop this duel. And then we move into that all-important game 3. So in game 3, my opponent went first on this one. They set 2 cards and passed, but you see one of the set cards is Rivalry. So they hit me with Rivalry once I got Trackmaker being a machine and Rico being a fiend. I chain the Cool Tune Synchro, and the idea is I want to get RS on the field. Like RS is actually really quite important at this point here. So we add the Q, we resolve the Rico, because the Rico's been summoned off of, as you can see, Q and Red Nova. So we resolve the Rico. Rico grabs me Mix, and then Cool Tune Synchro grabs me Clip. Then we go into RS, and then before we can finish off or start the next chain, we have to resolve the first chain, which is Rivalry coming into effect, which means I need to get rid of Trackmaker or RS. We're going to get rid of Trackmaker here, and then Mix and Rico. Obviously, there's no Rico because there's no monster on the field, but no Mix because there's no monster on the field. But we get to go for Rico, destroying the Rivalry. It means we've got RS alive here. And then I start to realise, like, the way this player likes to play the game, or likes to play the Yubel deck, is they hold on to Spirit of Yubel. So, again, skipping forward a little bit here, you can see that Spirit of Yubel hit the field. They were then able to go into Typhon. Just looking at my banish, I like my hand there, is like Veilers, Fugalosses, not really that ideal. And then Time got called as well. So when you could see that the field state at that particular point with a Typhon and a Spirit of Yubel, ultimately end up having to kind of like see the writing on the wall and kind of leave it there. But you see that they had an evenly matched themselves, so they were kind of prepared to go second. And I was like, you know what, I'll let you go first. I'll try and play the trick you did on me. And it didn't give me the right outcome that I wanted to. Duel number 3. Now, I'm not going to take too long on this one. So you can see my opponent built their field uninterrupted. Their field is currently like full Madolche field plus Secret Village of the Spellcasters. My hand was like Synchro Overtake, Cool Tune Synchro, and something else. And they just activated the effect monster to kind of return my monster to the hand. And I was like, yeah, I can't do anything here. In game number 2, I make my opponent go first purely because I was like, well, they're going to side out Secret Village, or I hope they're siding out Secret Village. I'll go first, I'll max out my Nibiru's, I'll max out Perulia's, and I'll max out Fugalos's. And as you can see here, they've got cross out for Fugalos, and I'm like, okay, sometimes you just want that one of a little bit more. So they banished their own Fugalos. The only other interaction I've got is Ash, so I use the Ash on the Queen Tiramisu here, and it kind of like end their fields a little bit subpar to what Madolche's could do, but it can still be relatively annoying to deal with. Set 1 in hand, pass, a draw for turn. This is where it gets like a little bit interesting, and the reason I'm going to play this entire clip here is just to kind of break down what happens. So we go with Cool Tune Q. I think I sided out Red Nova. Don't know why I sided out Red Nova. I think I was like, you know what, I'm going second. I'd actually rather have Nibiru, Fugalos's, and Perulia's so that I have more chances to draw into breakers. And then I decided to make the wrong mistake here. Now, I didn't even consider that the set Speller Trap could be, I was like, oh, it could be an infinite impermanence. I didn't consider that it could be the Madolche trap card that returns cards on the field to the hand. So I went with Effect Veiler, going, cool, I'll just Synchro into a level 4. What I should have done is not worried about Trackmaker. I should have gone into Mix or Rico. Doesn't matter which one, just a cool tune name. And the reason for that is, when they activate the trap card, I would still have a monster on the field that could use a monster in my hand as synchro material. So they choose to target the Q, which is, yeah, no, like, it's kind of the right play. So I want to highlight my misplays and kind of, not 20/20 vision, but like just thinking a step ahead, if you know what I mean. Like if I'd thought ahead, if that Effect Veiler was a like a Rico or a Mix, then I could perform the Synchro Summon. Like they either return the Rico, and I'm like, okay, cool, or they return the Mix, I'm like, okay, cool. If I've got a Rico or a Mix in the hand, I've still got the ability to Synchro Summon. Anyway, so it just ends my field on just an Effect Veiler. My hand, I believe at the moment, is like 2 Fugalosses or a Fugalos. They ultimately end up going into like an XZs, and I kind of survived this. The idea to show you this is that I survived this attack. Not that it's that big of an achievement, but the idea is to go, okay, cool, they come back, my Fallen and the Virtuous resets, gets me a second Fallen and Virtuous, I've used the Fallen and Virtuous. Their top deck was a monster that could be used with the Vernasilf Bear, which is really good. They put the Effect Veiler back to the deck, which again is absolutely fine. And then they put the damage on the field, but it's not enough for the 8,000 OTK. And I'm kind of like, right, well, we'll hold in there. We'll see where we can go with this one. We still have another full loss, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll take the battle damage. And then when it goes to main phase 2, I'm like, right, okay, well, the only thing they've got there is the trap card. So, with a clear field, once we go to main phase 2, I'm like, well, I might as well use the full loss and get a draw off of this. Otherwise, I'm not really going to be progressing much, and that full loss is just going to be dead fodder in the hand. At least full loss could draw me into anything. So we get the trap card. He does go into the XEs. I get the one draw off of the back of the XEs. Pass his turn, and then it's kind of like down to me, like, can I break this field? Spoiler, I couldn't break the field. I could just get rid of the XEs. And then what I do is I activate Desires, banishing 10, and then this is the second part of the Desires where it kind of goes not as well. So when I look at what I banished all 3 Nibiru's, which is obviously great against this matchup. I banish, I think 1 Q, which is actually quite important because I've got a Herald of the Orange Light in the hand, which would have been great for me. And then I believe it is Ghost Bell and some other interactions that would have been pretty good here. So after this, I've had to pass. I Fua with an empty field. I still managed to go summon down Clip going to RS negates, and then ultimately, like, Tiramisu is just going to spin the monster back. The monster gets spin back, and then I just show them. I'm like, there you go. So you can see that there's 3 Nibiru's, there's like 2 Effect Veilers, 1 Perulia, an Ash Blossom, a Rico, a Ghost Bell, and just like quite a lot of the interactions that I would have liked to have gotten, like, drawn into off of the bat. And then I'm just checking my deck of where I could get another card that would have been useful for me, like Effect Veiler, and then my last 2 were my last 2 Qs, which would have helped me with the Herald of the Orange Light. So that's it for the dual bullet points. I'm going to go, like, get back home, and then when I get back home, I'll be able to give you, like, a bit more of a in-depth breakdown over the local kind of way it went, basically. Okay, so back from locals, hopefully you saw the duels. These would just be like bullet points of the duels or sections of the duels to give you a bit of a highlight. So now what I wanted to do in this second part of this, and I definitely feel, so apologies, I could have done a little bit more update and interview content. And hopefully these will be improvements that I'll do for the next version or the next episode as well to kind of give you an insight, because if I do this again next week and then the week after that, there'll be a double back-to-back sneak event or a premiere event for Burst Protocol. So that's going to be really, really exciting to do, because on the Saturday it'll be sealed, so you only play with what you pull from the packs, and on the Sunday it can be constructed, which means I can play this deck, hopefully with the Chainbound Dragon. So let's take you through ultimately the cards that were new and the cards that I brought up in question. And then I'll talk you through the cards that maybe flattered to deceive, maybe were a little bit, could have done a little bit better for me, a little bit different, and you name it. So let's start off with, obviously, Desires. Fallen on the Virtuous was something new that I was trying out as well. And then so was, I think it was just Herald. Yeah, Herald and the branded package, okay. Herald and the branded package. For the side deck, just so you have a bit of an idea of what side deck I went with. So I went with 3 Dark Rule on them all. Never put these in, never see these. And don't worry, I'll show you the entire deck list at the end of the video. I'll lay them all out for you, so you can kind of see as well. So 3 Dark Rule on them all, never side them in. 3 Droll Not Bird, never sided them in. 3 Iron Thunder, sided these in quite a few times actually. Like every time I went first, I would side these 4 cards in without a shadow of a doubt. So it'd be the 3 Maul Chummies with this one, and then this one I would find a space of a card that I wasn't like too happy with in the matchup and then side it out. Never saw this card. This card I saw like once or twice. It was okay, but unfortunately it's just not a game ender. Like it doesn't skip their turn, like pass their turn back to me or anything. So I'm kind of tempted by Gravity Collapse instead. So that might be something I'll try in that place. And then the final cards are Nibiru and Perulia. Perulia I put in. I don't think I saw it at all. Nibiru, the one match I did put it in, and I mentioned it in the match commentary as well, is I banished all 3 copies. I was like, bro, what the hell? So, side deck needs a little bit of work, just so you understand what was at the local environment. So at the local environment was Mitsu Yummy. So actually, let me go from first down. So first place was Pure Yummy. Second place was Orcusts. I can't remember exactly what they were with. Apparently they're not with K9. So I don't know. It's like Orcust hybrid with something else. Then it was Yummy Mitsu. And then the remaining 5 slots, there was a Yubel matchup. There was Madolche's. You can kind of see like the range of where it goes. There was Malice, Radiant Typhoons. And I think that's it. So you can kind of see like at the top end is the standard kind of meta you would expect. At not the lower ends, but like in the other ones, it could be pretty much anything, which is why trying to decide is very, very difficult. Okay, so let's review the changes that I made to the deck. Herald of the Orange Light instead of the Gamma package. Do I like it or don't I like it? I actually like it. Yeah, it's kind of a weird one because it's probably just as consistent as the Gamma package because the only other fairies you play are 3 Q and 1 Red Nova, which, you know, it's okay. It's okay. It's good. What I liked about this was being able to activate it while already having a field set up. That's where this becomes like a really good MVP. It's something that I want to try out a little bit more of in the main deck. Not that I can put more of it in, but I want to test it more having this card and just kind of see whether I feel that the free spaces could be taken out and probably cut the deck down to 40. But I still feel you need a level 2 tuner right now. So I'm actually quite happy to kind of keep it. Pot Desires, before I talk about this package, because this package is a bit of give and take. Pot Desires. I think I activated it once or twice. The first time I activated it, I got rid of Red Nova, which was really annoying, and then like loads of starting pieces, but this was used as like after already comboing off. And the second time I activated it, I got rid of all my hand interactions. So I think when I looked for it, it was like 3 Nibiru, there was Ghost Bell in there was Ash Blossom in there was like a Rico and everything. So I can see where it could be good, but it kind of has the same negative as Pot of Extravagance. Now this engine. So I am a lot more comfortable now that I can get rid of the Ecclesia. If I get rid of the Ecclesia, the other cards that I was putting in the extra deck were these 4 right here. If I get rid of the Ecclesia, I can get rid of the Dragon that Devours the Dogma, and that opens up a space. I never summon this card whatsoever. What I was usually doing, just to give you a bit of an insight, or the idea behind having the Ecclesia in, was that you'd go Fallen the Virtuous, you'd send Titaniclad. Titaniclad in the end phase would summon Quem, which is a tuner, so even if you're tuner locked, it's absolutely fine. Quem would then send Ecclesia. And then during your opponent's turn, what you do is you'd go Quem, revive the Ecclesia, tag out so you've got a bit more control over it when you want to use the Albaz. Albaz comes down, discards a card, contact fuse, and you're pretty much more times than not going into Mirror Jade. If they don't have an extra deck monster on the field, you just go, okay, cool, well, we go into Albion if they've got the light monster, and then you go Albion plus, and then still make the Mirror Jade. I threatened it once to make Mirror Jade. I made Mirror Jade once. So I threatened it once, they got rid of the Albaz. The second time I actually made Mirror Jade, and it helped me win the door, because I just go, cool, Mirror Jade, send the Albion. That would then like clear off my opponent's monster. The issue was that by that point, you send Albion, which is absolutely fine, because if you're still playing the Dragon that Devours the Dogma, in the end phase, Albion then gets you the second Fallen the Virtuous, and then you activate Fallen the Virtuous, send in the Dragon that Devours the Dogma, and happy days. So on review, what would I do? I feel that I could very easily cut the Ecclesia. I don't think the Ecclesia is necessary. You can definitely get rid of this. I'm kind of happy with 2 Fallen the Virtuous, maybe put it at 3, but I think this now gets the deck count down to 42. I like the idea, as the dog enters the room. I like the idea of Quem sending the Albaz. I feel that this is better than Quem sending Ecclesia, in my opinion, because then obviously you bring back Ecclesia searches out for the Virtuous. I like this, and I also like the threat of being able to discard a card to then make my own Mirror Jade. Because Mirror Jade can still be really annoying. Like, remember, if Mirror Jade leaves the field via opponent's card effect, it's like a Raigeki. So I actually quite like this. Again, it's something that I want to test a little bit more because the level 4 Quem doesn't do anything for you. Yeah. On reflection as well, the other thing that I learned is that I keep forgetting that some of the synchro monsters, like RS, don't have the ability to synchro with the hand. So what I was doing, there was times I was like, okay, cool, activate Cool Tune Synchro, search out a clip, and then go synchro into using RS and Effect Vader in hand. So I was like, yeah, you can't do that. The idea is that you need to have that monster on the field to kind of do it. So you saw in the matchups, like in the highlights, I basically just put the bullet points of where a duel was won, where a duel was kind of like lost. If you want to see the duels in their full outlay, then let me know. And I'll probably put like maybe 1 or 2 of them out, just so you can kind of see. So on reflection, the next time I play this deck, I'll make a couple of little changes to it. but I feel that it still needs a little bit of testing to see if I'm happy with what I've stuck with. So to finish the video off, my participation packs for today was one OTS 29 and an OTS 2. So going back very classic. We'll start off by opening up the OTS 2. So the hunt cards in this one, like the super rares are pretty good. It was like Gamma Seal, the Prime Monarch. I'm pretty sure there's the Thunder Monarch as well. Not the good Thunder Monarch, the Mithra, that was it. The ultimate rares are Raigeki, Fog King, and it's not Karaz. It's the Light Monarch, but yeah. Anyway, a bit of a trip down memory lane. So we go off with United We Stand, Cyber Dragon Core, and Mithra. Mention Mithra and Shu shall appear. OTS 29, so this one is the most recent one. The one that I actually want from this is Salesband. I think Salesband's really good. But the ultimate rares are K9 Jockle. Trying to remember what the other ones are. It's K9 Jockle, it's Dracotail Ketu, and then I think it's one of the Yummy Synchros. So you get Original Bamboo Sword, Tri-Brigade Shurek, that's actually a really good common reprint, and Miracle Raven. Okay, I don't mind this. It's a nice little upgrade for the Ravens. It kind of reflects how my day went with the actual games. But yeah, I'm hoping you're enjoying this series. It's just something a little bit different to kind of give you a bit more of an insight, give you a bit more of a breakdown. I'll quickly like lay out the list in front of you, just so you can kind of see them. Pause the video, take a bit of a screenshot, and then kind of go from there. And then, yeah. So I'll see you on the next episode. I don't know if I'm going to change deck every episode. Hopefully it just kind of shows you the journey that I go with a particular deck, and then maybe I change it up at different local environments, or change it up from here to there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.